Welcome back, Internet. I'm here to follow up on something that's kind of late and possibly maybe somewhat irrelevant now. Maybe not. With AT&T's outage that happened about a month ago, and now that there's more information on it, I think this is a good time to bring attention to the people that listen to this channel and that come across this channel. The fact that AT&T had a big outage due to a quote unquote network issue because they were upgrading, and the fact that the impacting restricted people from even making 911 calls should be a wake up call that you can't rely on these kind of companies, especially these cellular providers that have zero redundancy, apparently, and why you should have a backup plan from my perspective. Now, with AT&T having an outage, which is kind of insane, especially how big they are, how much people pay monthly on them, and how big the cost of these big cell phone providers cost in the US, you can definitely say that there's other options. Now that landlines are non-existent, they had, apparently from my understanding and research, they had very strict guidelines on backup protocols that were, if not enforced or done, these providers, these POT systems, I think is what it stands for, would go essentially get huge fines, and they didn't want that. So they have different regulations. They don't have them as far. So the first solution is generally the easiest, the most cost effective, and it doesn't require a test. I believe it's $35. It is called your GMRS radio. GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service. The good thing is all you have to be is 18. I think you just got to give them an email. It's $35 and it lasts 10 years and your whole family can use it. I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, they have increased it to GPS data, and also you can use repeaters and text. I'm not entirely sure about that, but it's very inexpensive. You don't have to take a test. They give it to you. You and your whole family can use it, and it can use repeaters. The general range, from my understanding, is up to 25 miles. You can, with repeaters, it might go a little bit further, line of sight, etc., etc. This is a good off-the-grid solution because these radios are so cheap. Obviously, don't go super cheap. You can get a really good deal in perspective, probably. Like, you can check out these websites. You know, these websites, they fucking sit there and show their products that they're going to get commission on. So it's hard to make judgment. But I know you can get them for very inexpensive, like up to 36 miles, up to 36. They're going to, up to is a perspective, and then go, get the pricing. And some come with Nova weather scans, so that might be the move. Okay, no check pricing. I guess not. I've seen them range from like 35 to like, a couple $100. It depends how much you want to put into it. Some of the base stations can be more expensive. Obviously, the more money that you put, the more features it's going to come with. Very simple, very easy solution. If you want a second solution, Meshtastic. You can buy this hardware for as little as $15 all the way up to like $35. You can go through Lily Go. That's what I use. You have to buy more than one, and they can only connect to one person at a time, But it's end-to-end encryption. It uses LoRa. Meshtastic is great. I've already kind of talked about it, I believe, in extensive. If anyone wants help setting it up, hit me in the comments, message me, whatever. It's an open source off-grid decentralized mesh network. It does have encryption. They're not encryption experts. They explain that. There can be its own problems, but in a situation where you maybe need to communicate with someone who does have cell service, this is an option. As long as they're within range with each other, they're site to site. And I always say, kind of like a backup, test in theory. Don't test in theory, test in production. Just sit there and routinely, hey, does this work at this range? Does this work at this range? Does it work under these circumstances? Etc., etc. What happens if the power goes out completely? The second option is Briar. This is in close proximity. This is another option that you can do. I would recommend if you don't want to use any centralized service, if you don't want to use any like crypto-backed base service like Session or however they do it. I know I'm not a fan of it, but that's my take and my perspective. And I know there's some other problems with it. I think perfect forward secrecy is not enabled on it, but that's whatever. That's not the point. The point is I think Briar is more based. It does work off Bluetooth and local, which I think is even more based because you sit there, maybe 300 feet from your friend, no internet access needed. It will send a message. If you're on the plane, if you're in an area where you don't have cell phone service, or if you have an AT&T issue, where they decide to oopsie daisy their network away. But the cool thing about it is that it also uses Tor when it routes your traffic through the internet. So that's kind of nice. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or Tor with privacy built in. Very awesome. They do have something called Mailbox where you can, first it encrypts, then it's local storage. Messages are stored securely on your device, not the cloud. Connect directly with nearby contacts even without internet. Offline messaging, open source, free and open source. There is a new feature that I do like that I want to bring up real quick. And, besides their desktop and their mailbox, which mailbox is cool, you can actually take messages, download them to a flash drive, and give them to somebody, and then they can read those messages, depending on if you don't have the internet. Now, that seems like a little silly, but say there's important information on there that you don't want to touch the internet and you only trust it on the flash drive and it's between you and a trusted partner or person that you know. The last GigaChad way to go is ham radio. Amateur radio, the most based way you can go. You have different you have different licensing you can get. I think you have your technician all the way up to like your third, like your third one. I'm not familiar with like all the levels, but I think your technician is your first. And then you go as high as to the highest licensing allows you to pretty much talk across the world with satellites. Text and data, I believe, are some of the newer ones. They can send email with WinLink. There's some really cool YouTubers that you guys can also check out that I will, if you want to know more about ham radio and if you want to know more about GMRS radio, there is I follow him too because he's like he gives a lot of cool information. Reject that. It's ham radio. He'll probably be the first to pop up. He's a kind of like a ham radio crash course. Excellent channel, really good information, and then not a Rubicon production. If you want to learn a lot about GMRS radio, boom, right here, GMRS radio, not a Rubicon Productions. He does a ton of information on it. It's pretty cool. I like some of his content. It's pretty awesome. I mean, they're both really good YouTube channels to like sit there and learn more about how ham radio works, GMRS radio. But if you don't want to go and get those licensed and you don't want to give away any information, I would say Meshtastic would be it, or Briar. These two are your best options. Don't need a SIM card, don't need a phone number, nothing. Literally, we need to start having better backups that not only help and enforce encryption. We need to make sure that we have a backup solution to what possibly could be a big oopsie daisy, especially if you needed to call emergency services or get a hold of the people that matter. Now, if there is more different types of communications that you guys are interested, leave suggestions in the comments. Definitely go get your ham radio license or your GMRS license, at least the bare minimum, or if not worse, go and build yourself a mesh network with Meshtastic or Briar. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.